Everyone has a person that they think of when they're growing up as the adult that has their life together. Someone you looked up to and like, oh, I want to be like them when I grow up. But what was it about them? What makes them a good adult? What makes them look like they have their life together? We can be adults by definition, but what does an adult actually do? What does it mean to be a successful adult? Welcome to the Omniversity, where we learn things we didn't learn in school about being successful adults. Being a parent, this is also something I want to leave for my son, a next person that needs a manual on how to be a successful adult. I don't know if there are younger people that look up to me as a good example of an adult, but I would say I'm pretty happy with the results I've gotten so far. I've always liked the full progression. So when I was in elementary, I ended up liking middle school more. And then when I went to high school, I liked it more than middle school. When I went to college, I liked it more, and so on and so on. And so up to this point in my life, it's just gotten better. And there are some that would probably disagree. I hear a lot of things about don't like being an adult. There's a lot of nostalgia to 90s stuff, and it just makes me think that people probably are looking backwards instead of forwards as to what they can do to make their lives a little better. So being an adult is not something you're taught. It is usually something more you emulate, and if you don't have good examples around you, then it may be a bit more difficult. So here are the top 7 things that have made my adult life pretty awesome, in no particular order except for the last one. The last one kind of goes under the radar, should be the obvious one, but somehow it isn't. So number 1 is finances. This is the number one answer I always get when I ask people, what is something you wish you had learned in school that kind of shocked you the most in adult life? And it's always finances. Now, I had asked recently, we learn math in school, so what makes finances so hard? It is, most of it is pretty basic math. We've learned percentages, we learned interest, we learned addition and subtracting, and pretty much keeping within budget. If you have this amount, then don't spend more than that amount. But I guess what makes it more difficult is that we usually just had a little project that they gave us X amount of dollars, and you have to make it last so long. And it's money that you didn't earn, and I think it completely changes the game once you're using the money you've earned, and your lifestyle may be this expensive, but you're only making this much, and so that starts causing some problems. And so here are a few of the things that we have to learn as adults. The main ones that we'll all have to learn if you want to be a successful adult. One is interest. Buying a house or buying a car. Whenever you get a loan, you're gonna have to pay interest on it. How is this interest affecting you? We may know the math, but it's different when you put it into action and how it affects you from paycheck to paycheck. Investing is another one that we didn't quite learn, or it's hard to fully understand once it's your money. When you're in school and they give you a little project, it feels different because there's no stakes. They're giving you money that you didn't earn, and so when it's your earned money that you have to give to somebody else or pass it over to somebody and do something with it, that's when it feels more like gambling. Are you going to lose my money? And so on and so on. And once you learn about investing, you realize that it is a little bit of a gamble, but it's much safer gambling than if it is going to Vegas. The house isn't the one that's going to win. So the basic idea behind behind investing is keeping your money's value. So whatever's worth $100 now is going to cost you 3% more next year. So it's going to be $103. So then the next year after that is going to be $106, and so on and so on. And the interest compounds. So instead of being 3% on just the $100, now it's 3% on the $106. and so on and so on. And so you can see how it slowly starts accumulating. So investing helps maintain the value the same. If you separate those $100, it'll grow along with the inflation, and it'll grow. Your $100 will grow to the $103 the next year. So you can still buy the same things that are now worth $103. And even though you only put $100 into it and it's worth $103, that's kind of the idea behind investing. Credit lets you buy things that you can't afford right now, but can you afford them at all is usually the mistake people make. You just see it as some sort of free money, but it's not free money. They're charging you to borrow money. So only borrow what you know you can use. Credit scores are what kind of is your financial reputation. So if your reputation is ruined, it may take some time to recover. Credit card companies will even reward you with points. If you're unfamiliar with points, that's a whole thing I'm barely learning about, and I'm 40. We recently took out a bigger credit card that's supposed to be really good on points, and so we'll keep you guys posted as to how this goes. But if you're responsible, credit card companies reward you by using points, in which most of it is for travel. You can use it for hotels, flights, and so on and so on. And even we have recently this year, we got an Amazon card, and it's already helped us accumulate points, and the points kind of come right back to you in money, or you can pay off your own credit card with those points. If it's money you're going to spend anyway, might as well take advantage of the points. Next one is relationships. If you never went to college, you just graduated high school and didn't go to college, one of the humanities classes that they make you take is psychology, sociology, or philosophy, or I like to call them PSP. It helps you understand human behavior so much more and people's interactions. So this carries on into so many different things like work and family. You start understanding why people do the things they do, and even start understanding a little bit of yourself. This is why I do the things I do. And yeah, at that point, it's your choice whether you want to make adjustments, but it also helps you realize that you're in very little control of other people. So you start realizing what you can do to help your life be a little better. Part of the whole relationships thing are work relationships, working with bosses and colleagues. You don't have to like everybody or like the people you work with to be respectful. Same goes with family. You don't have to like them to be respectful, but it kind of helps you. PSP helps you navigate why people do the things they do, and realize sometimes it's not personal and you're making a bigger deal in your head than it actually is. And this will later, unfortunately, carry out to friendships. Adult friendships are a little bit harder. They're different from what they were when you were younger. But if you guys grew up together, things change. We all grow our own lives with our own struggles. Things aren't personal towards you, but they are personal. They have their own personal things they have to deal with. So just navigate it as best you can, and with as much understanding as you can have. In relationships, your environment and the people in your circle are very important. That's also something that PSP teaches you. Think of the top 5 people in your group. Who are the top 5 people you hang out with the most? Now, from those 5, where do you fall in that hierarchy? Are you kind of the leader of the group, or are you at the bottom? Now, there's pros and cons to both. If you're the leader, then kind of everyone's looking up to you for how to do things, or they may be asking you, or you may be the one that people come to for questions and advice and stuff. If you're at the bottom, the pro is here, all these people are higher than you, and so you can learn a lot from them. And so I sometimes like to try to find a good middle ground. I like to try to find a few people that are a little bit in better stages of life than we are, and what can we learn from them. And also having people right below is also makes me reflect a little on what I've learned and what other people see from us as what are they coming to ask us about. Next one that kind of falls under that previous category of relationships is marriage, but I thought it merited its own category because it is kind of just its own separate category. I'm happily married, but also not without struggle. Okay, when they say what is the key to a successful marriage, it's lots of communication. The communication thing is not an understatement. You have to be very clear and purposeful with what you're both are talking about. Make sure there's clear understanding and with the intention of what you meant and how you actually pull that off. There's lots more transparency. You may have personal things to work out if you can't be as transparent as you need to. So if you can't be transparent, then it's probably not a good thing to get married. Marriage is your new team. You were drafted or you drafted them. You both decided to create a team. You both agreed. If it's you guys against everybody, that's pretty much it. If you guys can't agree to these terms, both sides can't agree to these terms, then there may be trouble ahead. Next one is parenting. So naturally, after marriage, there may be kids that come along. You need to know how kids learn. And you may have I turned out fine, but there are likely more effective and emotionally intelligent ways to teach kids. Hey, a lot of times we like to impose our own opinions on our kids, and that might not be the best thing. Opinions aren't facts. These are things that make you feel a certain way. How do you know that's going to make them feel the same way? Okay, so let them be their own person. Let them jump to their own conclusions, and you can guide them, but don't just tell them this opinion is correct or it's wrong. With parenting, these kids are little mirrors. So their bad habits and their good habits, they learn from what they see. And those behaviors they see are likely you. So some may be just what they observe. Some of it may be genetic, if genetics is something they can carry on. But sometimes we see some things that like, I'm pretty sure I haven't done that, but they somehow have this. And either way, it's that mirror that shows you this is what other people have been dealing with that is like you. So it's a good experience, again, also on PSPs, just a little self-reflection as to what they show you about yourself that you weren't aware of. Next one is cooking. I think we need to know the very basic things of cooking, whether it's cooking eggs, meat, chicken, pasta, baking. I think those are very basic essentials that we should probably learn in school or later years in education. Now, again, some may say, well, I took a cooking class or something, but to the extent that I mean when we're not taught in school, it hasn't made it habitual or even if we can't recall it, then it's kind of feels a little pointless. It's just exposure, and exposure doesn't build habits. So along with this comes nutrition. There's a lot of processed foods, that isn't good for your diet. Convenient food is likely not good for your nutrition. So if it's high convenience, it's likely low nutrition. Habits, eating at appropriate times to keep you healthy, regular, or not affect your sleep. Techniques in cooking, baking, frying, boiling, grilling. These are all things that just kind of change a little bit. And going back to the financial thing, it'll save you so much more money if you just cook on your own. ingredients in cooking. Do you know the basics of how long foods last? How long is their shelf life? Which foods have longer shelf lives, which have shorter shelf lives? How should things be separated in your fridge to make them last longer? Okay, these are all things that you probably never thought of, and nobody ever tells us. The chemistry and biology of the food, how food changes from its raw state to the cooked state. It's still safe to cook. Is how long can you leave it out? Which needs to be refrigerated? What does refrigeration even do? So these are all things that we weren't taught, but we just kind of accept. But I think knowing a little more about it will help you make better decisions. Self-care, exercise, medical, and mental. Nutrition is one, just like I mentioned previously with the cooking. Cooking at home is probably way more healthy than whatever you're eating out. Exercise, this is one that I'm still struggling with even at 40. I'm trying to start picking up on it, but it is something I definitely do not enjoy. But now my focus is on mobility. As you get older, it's more about mobility than actual strength training. Sleep, don't overlook sleep. Sleep is like our superpower. Even though you used to do all-nighters and stuff, and you still do, you may think just because you're doing it that it's still effective. It probably has lost efficiency over time and you don't even know it. And so just learn to take care of your sleep, and having a kid also made me appreciate sleep even more so. And part of that last self-care one is mental, going back to PSP, psychology, sociology, and philosophy. It makes you spend some time inside your own head and realize why some things are going the way they're going. Sometimes you think it's all just environmental factors that affect you, but there's some things that we can do on our own to shift and just get new perspectives, or change location, change scenery, change environment to help you just have a little more success. Next one is travel. I think many of us like to travel, and there's nothing like traveling to help you learn. That empathy and acknowledgement for how others live goes again back to PSP, just learning how people work and why they do the things they do. Also, I think some of the older generations start valuing experiences more than things. So even if you have going back to credit cards a little bit, even if you have that yellow moment where you book a vacation that might be slightly out of your budget and you fall back on payments, you'll take this credit score hit, but you keep the memories. So, and if you stuck around this long, thank you. The last one, I think that a lot of us are kind of having trouble with, and I blame the internet for algorithms and such, just kind of keeping us into our little echo chambers, is accountability. Know when something is your fault. So to me, my most basic rule for that is, would this have happened without your input? Now, another misconception that I think people get with accountability is you mix your intentions with what actually happened. So whether you meant for this to happen or not, whatever you brought to it, whether it was intentional or not, and something negative happens, it's pretty much your fault. So just take accountability. Sorry, that's not what I meant to do. You can explain it. Just maybe not over explain it, because then it just sounds like you're making excuses. Just take the hit and say you're going to try to do better next time. Okay. I think that shows a little bit level of maturity. And even then, how would you define maturity? I'd like to know what you guys think about that word specifically. Think of the most mature person you know. What are the characteristics? What are the characteristics and traits that they have? Along with maturity is giving up pettiness. This can be even hard for me. I'm Hispanic, and if you're Hispanic and you're getting upset at this comment, then you're kind of proving my point. Okay, pettiness is just some way to prove yourself, and prove yourself of what? Okay. Which brings me to the last one, is needing to win. Why do you have to win? In the end, do you really? In the end, I feel like everyone loses. Your ego wins, and your ego isn't real. It's imaginary. It's like your imaginary friend that always turns things the wrong way to try to make you look bad. And if you get mad at some things, it goes back to PSP to me. It may be because you think there is some truth to something somebody said about you. And I heard an example once. It's like somebody saying, I don't like your blue hair. And if I don't have blue hair, why is that comment going to bother me? Am I going to get like all pissed off at them and start cussing them out because they said I had blue hair? If I really know it's not true, then it's not going to bother me. If I think there might be an element of truth, then that's when... But I think that reveals more about yourself than it does about what the comment is saying. All right. So I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe and let me know which of these causes you the most trouble or misunderstanding. We'll see you around the Omniverse, and remember to pause and think, what would an adult do?